how do you talk to a child and prepare them to defend themselves, right? And so, of course, these are all sort of age-appropriate conversations you need to have with your child. But first of all, I think parents have to understand that it's their burden to protect their kids. Kids, as I said before, I think are no match for a seasoned predator. Right. So what that means is that you don't leave your kids alone with men. And one of the best pieces of advice I can give parents is that you don't leave your child alone with a man until your child is old enough to understand that the person most likely to abuse them is the person you're telling them to trust. And so, what age is that? Every child's different. But when your child's old enough to understand that the person who you're, sending them off with is potentially the person they have to be careful about, then that's the right time.
Do you think that 95% of abuse can be prevented through education and preparing our kids, or is that not a real?
Wow, I don't know what the number. I don't know what the number would be. I certainly believe that we can prevent a lot of it.
Like with these books, that are appropriate to read to kids when they're 3, 4 years old, and talking openly about these subjects. Is that?
Sure. Interestingly, I just filed a case last week up in Maryland, and in that case, there was a teacher who was abusing kids for decades.
Right.
And this little girl, who was 11 years old at the time, had been abused for a few years at that school. Never talked about it, but the school presented a class about protecting your body. And literally in that class, after hearing this information, she realized that she was a victim. And a teacher saw and noticed and observed that something was wrong with her and said, "What's wrong?" She said, "I think, Mr. Vigna, John Vigna, a predator who was just convicted pedophile up in Montgomery County in Maryland, was her teacher. And she said, he's touching me in a way that you're saying he shouldn't be." The police investigated. He got charged. He was just convicted a few weeks ago, sentenced, I think, to 60 years in prison. But he had been abusing kids for decades.